Hello. Okay, for this one I'm going to be making a Toon outline. Not necessarily great for making pixel art, but if you're doing like GL renders or just any kind of rendering in it's just useful. Like, it's just a nice effect to know and to understand, and it has a lot of applications besides just being a Toon outline. Like, for instance, on here, it's nice. It's got like a constant. The interpolation here is constant, so it's quite jagged. But on these models underneath, it's more. It's using, I think, ease interpolation or something like that. But it gives kind of a nice ambient occlusion effect. You can still see like the black around the edges here. So I'm just going to show how to make that, really. Yeah. Okay. So to set this one up, you really just need a light in the scene, and if you did go on the last tutorial that I made, you can set up a shader. It doesn't really matter too much how you set up the shader, but I've just set up the same one I made in the last video. So when you have your material, and I'm not going to go over any kind of render settings either, but I mean, you can just look at these if you want to copy it. Yeah. Okay, so when you have a material, what you want to do is there's a little button here that will open the node editor, or yeah, I think it opens it when you press it. Let's see. Okay, so it doesn't open it straight away, but when you click this button, it adds like your material is going through nodes instead of just being on this panel here. So if you click this button here and then go down to compositing, it will change the layout for you to the node editor. And what you're going to want to do from here is it usually starts out like this. So it's by default it starts out on this little tab here, which is the render layers, which is not really, it's not what you want. So you want to click on this one here, which will take you to the material, and then make sure the material that is on your object is here, and then you just click this use nodes button, and now it's using nodes, and by default you should have you will have an output and you will have a material. So it will look like this by default. From here you have to select your material. It's usually, if you haven't got any other materials or you just have a few materials, it's usually the one that is just black like this, because the output of it is just black, like here. So if you just load that into there, you have your material back, and I'll just show you what nodes you have to add to make a Toon outline. The first one that you add is an input here. It's geometry. This is basically just a list of vectors. I won't go into it too much. It's quite hard to explain how these work, but I will explain a little bit. The next one you want to add is under converter. It's vector math. So you're going to be performing some kind of calculation on two of these vectors. The next one is under converter, and it's this color ramp. Don't get confused, it's not under color, it's under converter, and it's just it's another ramp. So and then the next one you want to add is just a mix. So under color, mix RGB, and that wants to be after the material, in between the material and the output. So back to geometry here. We're going to be making what's called a dot product between two of these vectors. Dot product basically just gives us one value. It's kind of like a, I don't want to say average, but it's I'm not entirely sure myself, but it's some kind of mathematical function, and you can see how it works when you do this. So I'm going to take this one here, which is view, which is, I believe it's the camera view, so what you're seeing from the camera, like the vector that is coming off this square here. Again, like I'm not like entirely sure, I'm not 100% on my math and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure it's coming from the square here. So if you plug this in to here, and then you have your normals, which is like normals is like, I believe it's the point perpendicular off a face. I'm again not 100% sure, but I think that's what it is. So when you combine these two, and you have the two, view and normal, plugged into here, and this is going to do some kind of math operation. So you want to choose dot product, and then the value of that, not the vector, the value goes into the factor here. And yeah, okay, so next you want to just plug your color here into this mix shader, and we will, okay, so from here you want to turn this factor all the way up, and then you want it to blend, you want this, so you want this one to be on top, and what this is going to do is it's going to take this color and it's going to take this color based off this vector, and it's going to darken this shader. So you want to make sure the factor's on 1, you want it to be maximum, like maximum darkness. You can actually see right now that if I move this, you can see that it's adding some kind of pseudo ambient occlusion with this effect. If you want like a raw Toon outline, then you want to change this here to constant, and then there you go. It's as simple as that, really. And I highly recommend, like, if you're just starting out with Blender, or you're just kind of getting into making materials and stuff, and you have a basic understanding of how this panel works, I highly recommend like going into this and messing around with the different options in vector math and using this geometry here to get different effects. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I will say as well that when you do this method, because this color is not part of the material, you do have some oddities with it where the outline will show through fog. The outline is a separate color to the material. It's not like it's not like in the real world. It's hard to explain, but it does have some strange properties. You mess around with fog with that and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so thanks for watching. The next one is probably going to be on, I'm probably going to show how to clamp like a texture, like say you have a texture of ground. I'm going to show how to clamp that to a set amount of colors, much like the first tutorial I did on making pixel art from 3D models. So and I'm just going to continue to post like game art tutorials. It's really what I use Blender for. I don't really use it for rendering too much. I just use it to make assets. So okay, thanks for watching and goodbye.